I think still the most pivotal moment in my life was losing my brother to a drug addiction. My brother Chris was 3 years older than me, and I was your typical younger brother that just ran after everything he was doing and tried to be in his business all day, every day. And basically anything he was doing, I mimicked, whether it be sports, music, trying to tag along with the big boys. I was just always trying to catch up, it felt like. So I got very lucky to have that sibling relationship that was a friend, a brother, and everything in between. We were super close, and ultimately was just the guy that I looked up to more than anyone. My brother was 20, he had a music scholarship, he was about to go off to college, and our family, our normal family life stopped when my brother came to us and told us about his addiction with drugs. And we went down a path with him that we never dreamed of. And it was really hard for us. It was a 6-month period where we kind of went in and out of getting Chris back to going through what we called the beast, of him just being somebody that we didn't even know or could relate to because he was in another world, dealing with his addiction. And ultimately that addiction took his life after being sober for 4 months and going through the programs and living in a sober living house. It was like we had this bright light coming back to us, and that one more time of use took his life when I was just about to graduate high school. My goal now is just to keep my brother's memory alive and break that stigma down and make it an open topic. My brother died 15 years ago, and I think it was the beginning of this, and now we're living what was to become the inevitable truth of opioids. And we have to do everything we can to educate kids, because it starts now with a pill. But what I experienced firsthand, where it took my brother and what we had to do with him as a family, is something that I will never wish upon anybody else. And within my journey now, my goal is to save a life, because I know what it's like to lose that life, but I also know what it's like for a person to go through that life that could ultimately take it. And that still stands to me as the most shocking moment that I've experienced. And we can't facilitate this. We cannot allow this to be a normal statement. Apparently opioid addiction still isn't relatable, but it can happen to anyone. And it did happen to my brother. Still to this day, I've become more comfortable talking about it, but as I sit here right now, I can immediately go back to that phone call from my mom when she was at the hospital saying, your brother didn't make it, we need you to come down here, to then trying to move forward as a normal teenager who had everything in the world going for him, basically a blank check written by corporate sponsors to follow a professional surfing career. It's what my brother and I were going for as kids. But I was so affected by this loss, this kind of hole, that I got very good with my personality of hiding what was truly going on inside. And to be able to compete at a world level, you couldn't be sad. I knew that much. So I developed this terrible anger. So for me, not having anybody around for me to be able to bounce my emotions off of these thoughts that I thought were normal. I never went to therapy, I guess is the easiest way to put it. My life was this radical balance of super awesome and just crazy dark. It affected friendships, relationships, family, you name it. So then I finally got outside of my ego and was like, oh my God, I just need to talk. I need people in my life. I cannot do this on my own. I don't know, it's such a strange journey, and everybody has to figure out themselves, but my brother's drug use, it did so many things for me. Number one, the main thing was the stigma, that as a young child, I thought that drug addiction happened to bad people. And my brother was the best person I knew, and I realized that it was simply a chemical imbalance within him that gave him that urge to want to do more and more and more until it eventually took his life. And I know that if he could take that choice back, he would. But I realized the value of choices and the consequences within a choice. And it actually puts so much in perspective in my life of what do I want to choose to do and who do I want to choose to be. Within that realm, now I just find myself being compassionate towards strangers or anybody where I didn't have that before. I was definitely a very judgmental, moving fast, young kid. And I think compared to Alex at 17 when Chris died to Alex now at 33, I have so much armor shed, and it's more like open arms to where I was pushing people away. And these are gifts that my brother continues to give me to be a bigger and better person. Ultimately, I wish he was here rather than having to learn these lessons, but I continue to be grateful for everything that he gives me to be a better person in life. And I think that's why he still continues to affect me and uplift me to do things that I never even dreamed of. Yeah, ultimately, we are faced with many choices in life, and some have terrible consequences, which from the outside you wish you could just help that person, but we have to let people choose their way. And it's very sad when an addiction gets a hold of somebody better than what we think is, or would have been their way of life. For more information on opioid addiction, the stigmas, the truth of what's really happening right now, check out southbayfamiliesconnected.org. And if I can be helpful to you as well, you can find my information on there. And let's just kick this in the butt. We're better than this.